We're going to go over some of the settlements there in Fallout 3. And by the end of this, I'm going to show you the settlement you would most likely end up living in should the bombs fall tomorrow. Okay? So let's get started on this little jaunt through the Capital Wasteland. So where we're going to start is where pretty much everybody starts whenever they play Fallout 3 and they first exit the vault. And that's Megaton, right? It's the first post-apocalyptic settlement you come across. It's supposed to show you how the wasteland has begun to rebuild, in a way. And what it has going for it that a lot of people love, and what pulls people in from the post-apocalyptic wasteland, is that it has walls. Very tall walls. Along with that, it's actually built somewhat into a crater, and it's around a nuke. But that gives the town of Megaton verticality, right? You have like 4 or 5 different layers of the town built up over itself over the last 200 and some years. Along with that, you have law and order, right? You have Lucas Sims, runs the town, he's the sheriff. You have some guards and stuff. What's his face there? Jericho, that's his name. Jericho is technically a town guard, even though he's not the best at what he does. He's not a good person either. But almost every able-bodied person there can go through and tote a gun if they need to. Along with that, they actually have a gate guard that stands watch outside of the gate on an overlook, watching the wasteland and watching the gate. You can actually get up to him from Lucas Sims' house, but that's a video for another day right there. Along with that, they do have some water infrastructure, so they can go through and they can, well, drink water. They do seem to trade for food, though, which is good and bad depending on where you are, Wasteland. And that is why a lot of people just want to live in Megaton, right? That's why they have a communal house where people that can't actually live in their own home proper can live in it. Traders moving through can stop there for a while. And all that sounds good on paper until you realize it's not really where most people would want to live, for good reason. Biggest thing, and they make it apparent as soon as you come in, there's an active nuclear bomb in the center of Megaton. It just didn't go off when it hit the ground. So everyone there is literally living on borrowed time for some reason. I don't know why anyone would want to build in that crater to begin with. Maybe the original settlement of Megaton was started by Children of Adam or some doomsday cult or something. Who knows? Who knows? Beyond that, they only have one gate into and out. Yes, the gate has somewhat of an airlock with 2 separate gates, technically. But they're in a line. You have to open one to get through the other. Sounds good on paper, but there's no way to shoot down into the airlock area, so it's kind of useless. Along with that, the walls are not defended at all. Right? If you even just go running around Megaton, even just a little bit, you'll come across different enemies and stuff around Megaton proper, such as mole rats. And mole rats can eat through almost anything in the wasteland. That's why you find them all over the place in pre-war infrastructure and underground. All it takes is one of those chewing through the rusty plating to get into Megaton, and it's done. Now, the biggest post-war issue that a lot of people would run into when it comes to living in Megaton is the entirety of that town is made out of jagged, rusty metal. Right? When I was a kid, I remember getting tetanus shots. Pretty sure you do too. It's just part of growing up. In fact, I'm fairly sure to go into school in the United States, you have to have a tetanus shot. I'm fairly sure post-apocalyptic America isn't giving out tetanus shots to everyone anymore. So, yeah. Seems like a great way to just end up dead, running around Megaton. Just one stray piece of metal you catch your arm on. There you go, you got tetanus. You guys can go through and look up and see what happens. It's not fun at that point. So, what would I do to fix Megaton? Right? What would I do to fix Megaton? Well, if you want to keep the flair of the town, centered around a nuclear bomb. I figure you move the town itself, and this is what people should have done because it probably would have been used as a staging area after the bombs fell anyway, and that's the school. Springvale School. Just down the road, you can literally see it from Megaton. Would have been an area people would have gathered when the bombs went off. Simple as that. They should have used that for its infrastructure. Would have been a building that would have been complete at the time. I highly doubt it was hit by any bombs. While sure it is caved in, you could think mostly scavenging and no one taking care of it for the last 200 years did that. But it has power run, has plumbing, sewage, everything all piped up. You're good, right? You're good. Maybe they could have tapped into the bomb in the Megaton crater for power. Like a nuclear bomb reactor or something. You know, piping power to Megaton proper, right? That would have been pretty cool. Would have been more defensible there, too. I do believe one side is mostly butted up against the mountainside Vault 101 is situated in. And then the other side, one of the other sides is water. I'm fairly sure. I'm going off the top of my head here. I don't have a map up. And then, sure, you got to build a wall along the other, like, 2/3 or 1/3 of the area there. Still not bad. They had all the material they made Megaton out of. They could have done the same thing, right? There you go. You got a better place, better infrastructure. You don't need to worry about dying just simply stepping outside. And best of all, you don't need to worry about a nuke going off and taking you out right then, right there. Although, a nuke that close to you just down the street, still probably not the best thing for your health. But a lot of the school is underground, and the bomb is already in a crater, so might not do as much damage as you'd think. That's why Megaton, not really the best place you'd want to live post-apocalyptia there. Now the next one here, Rivet City, next icon of the post-apocalyptic DC wasteland. Capital Wasteland, as it were. Rivet City, the unsinkable ship, right? An old warship, the banks of a river. Amazing place to live. Thick walls, it's got a drawbridge in and out, one area in, technically 2 areas out, because there's the one little back exit through the market you can jump down out of. Not a lot of people know of it. Kind of useless, right? Now, Rivet City seems amazing. They seem to have power, which I'm guessing it's most likely a nuclear reactor on the sub. Not sub. Although they do have nuclear submarines as well. Also just recently watching one video. Apparently a lot of the planes in Fallout are also run on nuclear engines. So that's cool. So wouldn't be surprised if Rivet City also runs on a nuclear system. They have power. Water seems like an issue, like for the most of the wasteland proper anyway. And then security. You have Rivet City security, combat armor, good guns. Seem to be somewhat well trained. Usually above deck in the bridge of the ship. Awesome, cool. They have a full market, you know, you can go in, you can trade. They have a science center, they have a museum. They seem to be on the up and up, right? Well, until you read some of the passages from the doctor. In which case he talks about, I do believe he calls it rust lung. Inhaling too much rust. Not good for your lungs, apparently. Who would have thunk? So, he prescribes people to go outside, you know, up on the deck and breathe fresh air. Alright, and that's good. That's good. It's good that they're taking care of it. Let's get into the actual issues with Rivet City here. While Rivet City is mostly beached, it is still close to an active waterway. And sure, water may not flow the way it used to in Fallout, but we still know it rains. And we still know rain floods areas. Okay? Now, is Rivet City, the multi-thousand-ton ship, going to be washed away in a flood? Probably not. But that metal is extremely old, extremely fatigued, and you can literally see holes from it just walking up to the ship. Okay? It doesn't take the entire ship being pushed for a section of the ship to give out and it to collapse in on itself, right? But let's say it's structurally sound and whatnot, for the most part. What they should do is they should take a bunch of debris from around the area. There's a bunch of debris from the old buildings, even the planes and stuff on the decks, and build a water break around the ship to stop that from happening. Stop water from surging in, hitting the ship, damaging the ship, and it not being repairable at that point, right? Second thing they should do, the market should be moved outside. I'm not saying on the drawbridge itself, although you could fit all the market stalls on that if you wanted, but there's a lot of walkways up along the side of Rivet City they're just not used for anything. Put the market out along those. That way people are always out in the fresh air, and you don't need to worry as bad about rust lung, right? Next thing they should do is, this is a ship. That means it has ballast tanks. Ballast tanks probably still in good shape. We also know that in the wonderful world of Fallout, you can purify water through many different processes. So, what they should do, fill one ballast tank with river water, purify that over into purified water, and pipe that purified water through the rest of the ship. For use, just general use for everybody. That would make Rivet City an amazing place to live, and it would help in irrigation of crops. The entire upper deck of Rivet City, all they have is a little baseball diamond out there. They could be trucking up good, deep soil, the non-irradiated kind. Mind you, I don't know if that really matters if rad storms are a thing. Building planter boxes, because dumping soil out on the deck, probably not the best thing. Building planter boxes, planting food in it, growing their own crops and stuff. Fairly sure people there would love something else to do that's not being stuck under deck all day. But I think that right there is one of the great ways that you could actually go about making Rivet City a better place to live in Fallout, right? Arafu, the city built on an overpass. Well, town. I wouldn't even call it a town, most parts, but built on an overpass. Really, the only two reasons people come here for two quests. First one, you can pick up in Moriarty Saloon. Come here, deliver a message to a family that's, well, it's technically one quest if you want to think about it. You got to go deal with the family and all that happy good stuff. Doesn't matter, at the end of the day, because that's pretty much all this town was built for in-game. Now, this town sits atop an overpass, which is where a road goes over other roads. Simple. Now, that makes this town defendable to a point. With the town being up high, situated like that, they have a good choke point. They have a guard stationed outside to dissuade anyone. They also have a guard tower, which is also good. Didn't help them any at all when the family raided them and killed one of the households that lived there. And also kidnapped someone from the town. My light died, so now I have to go to using the overhead light. At least until it's charged. Might be charged, might not be charged. I want to hurry up and get this mostly filmed. Anyway, one way in, one way out. And that's it. Didn't really help them when they had people raiding their town and attacking them. Sad that, but leads us into the issues with this town. One, there's no water. There's no water infrastructure run throughout the entirety of this overpass settlement. Two, power seems to come from fusion batteries or atomic batteries of some kind. See them hooked up here and there, and they run the lights and stuff. Three, no place to get rid of your waste. So, keep that in mind. There is a bathtub out behind one house, which, sure, why not, I guess. But the biggest issue about this town in the Wasteland is that it sits on decaying infrastructure, right? It's an overpass. Overpasses need a lot of maintenance. Okay? You know as well as I do, driving down the highway, you're probably going to run into an overpass of some kind that's getting worked on, even though you swear it was just worked on last year, right? And that's the issue with this. Half of it's already fallen, much of it is already crumbling, and the part that it actually sits over top of, the support beam, pillar, thing, whatever, all of the reinforced concrete around that has already given way, showing the steel structural support of it. That means, since that beam is rusting, this town will be fine until it's not. Right? Metal doesn't really like to give warnings like wood does, right? Wood will buckle and bend and bow and make creaking sounds before it eventually just splinters. Metal, you'll get some groaning here and there when it's about to go, and then bang, it's gone, right? That's how it's going to go for this town. Mind you, this town could be here for 100 more years, or it could be gone tomorrow. And that is why I don't think anyone should live here. Now, how would I fix this town? I'd just build a town someplace else. Right? You can't build it on it. You can't build it under it because it's still going to fall. I really wouldn't build it anywhere around it either because that's just bad. Maybe to keep the same charm, I'd go through and build a town that's like built out of road slabs or something. Like the wall around it. And then use like traffic signs for the gate or something. That'd probably be pretty neat. Like post-apocalyptic wasteland style at the end of the day, right? That'd probably be pretty cool. A neat sight to see, as it were. But yeah, this town is just... This town is a no-go. I wouldn't want to live here for any fucking reason, right? So, what we'll do is we'll move on to the next town. Yeah. Tenpenny Tower. Tower that raises above all else in the wasteland in that region. Always draws the eye, always draws attention. Everyone goes there at least once to see what the fuck is up with this place, right? Known to be home to the legendary radio host Daring Dashwood. Wonderful place in the wasteland. Almost pre-war in the way it works. The styles that are had, the way people talk, the way they hold themselves, the way they go on about everything. Almost pre-war. Now, Tenpenny Tower itself is a high-rise that is walled off with concrete slabs. The back half of the building, if you've ever paid attention to this, is actually heavily fucking armored. Now, I gotta say, a high-rise, pretty much a watchtower around nothing, surrounded by nothing but barren wasteland, where every window can be a gun port, along with having trained, heavily armed and armored security, sounds like an amazing place to live. They got water, they got food, they got everything, it seems. So what's the catch here? Well, everyone knows Tenpenny Tower is full of rich people. You really think the post-apocalyptic world's gonna let that slide? Hell no. I'm surprised that we don't hear about raiders attacking this place more often. Right? Along with that, something I've always wondered is, where the fuck do the people of Tenpenny Tower get their money to be so rich? Because they don't make their own food, so they have to buy it from somewhere. Right? Do they sell water? Is the water in Tenpenny Tower irradiated? I can't remember. Food for thought. But yeah, no, they seem to be the stereotypical gated community rich people, right? So, what's the issue here? And how would we fix it? The only issue here really is that security seems to be all bark and no bite, and Tenpenny Tower seems to be led by just fucking insane people. Alistair Tenpenny is who I'm talking about. If we help the ghouls get into Tenpenny Tower, to assimilate into the people and culture of Tenpenny Tower, we come back later to find that the ghouls have killed everybody. Somehow this is a good karma ending. Like, I get it, they're rich assholes, but being slaughtered in your home just because you didn't want outsiders in, especially when it's proven that the outsiders literally want to kill you, not really the worst thing in the post-apocalyptic wasteland, right? So, we can tell just from the ghouls killing everybody, security didn't put up much of a fight. So, security's kind of fucking useless. Now, how would I fix Tenpenny Tower? First, get rid of Alistair Tenpenny just entirely. That guy's insane. You didn't know. He likes to sit on top of the tower and just take pot shots at people. Second thing, he wants to blow up Megaton. Like, sure, it's dumb to live around a nuke, but come the fuck on, man. So get rid of him. Next thing you do, you push the wall further out so that you can grow some crops. You get some people in from the wasteland, sharecropping style. Promise them if they work for 10 years, they can become a member of Tenpenny Tower or get a room inside to live the posh life or some shit. And it would probably work, right? Beyond that, Tenpenny Tower is not a bad place to live. As long as you don't mind the sociopaths and just pure psycho-fucking-paths that are in charge of the place. Or, if you don't mind just randomly getting ganked by a ghoul in the middle of the fucking night. Which is liable to happen in the wasteland. Apparently. And now we've come to it. The last entry on the list here. The place that you, as a modern citizen of the United States, or like the UK, if my analytics are to be believed, would most likely live should the bombs fall tomorrow. This is the place where you would most likely want to live, okay? And you can say no all you want, but should the bombs be falling, this is probably where you're going to go. Vault 112. Vault 112 is a vault in the Capital Wasteland. You actually have to go to it for part of the main quest. It's under Smith Casey's garage. This vault houses a very complex VR system, a deep dive virtual reality system that also seems to put its operators, for lack of a better word, into a type of stasis or cryogenic something or other. Figure since it's Vault 112, it probably has something to do with the cryogenics Vault 111, but who knows? Now, the simulation built here for this vault's use is built off of Operation Anchorage, the combat simulation that was used by the United States military to train troops to take back Anchorage, Alaska. Makes sense. Cool. That's fine. But let's talk about vaults in general for a minute, okay? Every vault has a water chip, at least one water chip. Now, weird thing about water chips is a lot of people seem to think it purifies water when it doesn't seem to purify water, right? Every instance we've seen of a water chip, except for a couple of uses, seems to create water, not purify it, right? Even so much as the new show, when the vault lost its water chip, why they couldn't just pull from an irradiated source is beyond me. Sure, you don't want to drink irradiated water, but, you know, a certain amount of radiation is okay. Fuck, a banana is radioactive, right? It's just one of those things of, I believe a water chip synthesizes water from electricity. And there's a precedent for this in canon Fallout, and that's the Sierra Madre vending machines. Okay? Sierra Madre vending machines take a token. Sierra Madre token. Now, a lot of people think that the tokens themselves have the materials needed to synthesize whatever you need from the vending machine. That's not entirely true. If you have the counterfeiter perk, you can make your own Sierra Madre vending machine tokens, which involves a battery. Why do you need a battery for a metal token? You don't. You need a battery to make a battery the size of the chips used by the Sierra Madre vending machines. So to me, it makes sense that these chips are miniature batteries that are used simply for the energy in them. Which that makes the most sense. Now let's bring it back to the vault, because we know that a lot of the technology was miniaturized, moved around, changed hands. So back to the vault, we have something known as vault extruders. Most famously, these things make the vault jumpsuits, right? I think that the vault extruders just make suits, the food, the clothing, the meds, the weapons even, that are in the vaults, from the energy. Why else would Vault 101 need like 4 reactors, right? Not that big of a place. It doesn't need that much power, right? So it would make sense if the food itself is being created. It also explains why every vault seems to have an unlimited supply of pre-war food. You can also get pre-war food from the Sierra Madre vending machines. Just think about that. This vault would have all of that. Sure, this vault wasn't made for long-term use, but it would still have all the basic necessities to be able to get people into the VR pods, right? You'd still have a basis of all of this. Let's talk about the VR pods, okay? It seems that these VR pods are so exact and so true to life that, one, people don't know they're in a simulation, and two, crazy old lady don't count. And two, they don't remember that they're in a simulation. So to me, it seems like when they came in the day the bombs fell, their minds were wiped that the bombs fell. Okay? So to them, they went to sleep on October whatever the fuck, and then woke up the next day and the world never ended, right? They just continued to live their lives. Now, quite frankly, I'd take that over a nuclear wasteland any day of the fucking week. But the biggest issue here with this vault is the overseer. He's fucking insane. Braun is just batshit crazy, always has been. But like most sociopaths, psychopaths, whatever, he seems to have a cooling off period. Okay? So, we look at his terminal, we can see at least 2 other iterations to Tranquility Lane before Tranquility Lane itself. One of them is a lagoon, one of them is like a chalet lodge up in the mountains, and then the third one that we know of is Tranquility Lane. Right? In the first one, he talks about feeding people to sharks and watching them die of scurvy. The best thing on the planet, especially since this probably would have been not too long after the bombs fell. But then the next one, we only really hear him talk about someone dying in an accident and how that got him going, right? So that leads into the next thing here of Tranquility Lane of when we show up, it's been a long time since he started using this version of the simulation. And everything's okay. Everything is okay in Tranquility Lane. We, as a wild card showing up, being the second person to do so, piques his interest and wants us to fuck around with the people there of Tranquility Lane. You know, beat up a kid, petty squabbles. Also, there's no kids in any of the VR pods, so the kid's part of the simulation, which is weird. But break up a couple, and then eventually, you know, lead up to killing everyone as the pint-sized slasher, right? They're not actually dead, though. They're just in a holding state until he resets the simulation, in which case he's just going to wipe their mind again, and they're not going to know they died. They're not going to know they died. They don't know the world ended like 200 years ago. Which, by the by, it kind of boils down to, you know, live in paradise for a couple of decades to get fucked over in the end, like the last year or so, by a dude playing God just to forget all about it in the next cycle and wake up thinking that yesterday was October 21st, 2077, right? So, I guarantee you that every person out there right now, the bombs were actually falling. Klaxons going off, bombs falling, nukes hitting, and you had access, Vault 112, you would take it. Without a shadow of a fucking doubt, you would take it. Knowing full well you wouldn't remember the bombs hitting, knowing full well you get to live an idyllic life. Hell, you would still take this deal even if you knew the overseer was fucking insane. Again, 20 years of living a great life, 1 year of terrible life, just to forget it all and have another 20 years of great life, right? You'd take it. I'd take it. Every actual person that enjoys living in a non-hostile environment would take it, right? It's just how it works. It's who we are. Why would I want to watch everyone I love die from fucking radioactive fallout when we could just live in a fucking pod in a VR simulation that we can't tell is VR simulation, right? Sure, we'd be at the whims of some crazy asshole that has all the power, but how the fuck is that any different from any other day of the week nowadays, right? So, yes, you would live in Tranquility Lane, so would I, and that's that, okay? Thank you for watching. Yeah, I figure I'll end it here. Thank you for watching. This is a new format I'm trying. Hopefully I can get the light working a little better next time. But you know how it is. First time's always the worst time. You get better from there. Thanks for watching. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. I've had fun making it and playing around with it. Setting everything up isn't too bad nowadays, but we'll see. Probably get easier with time. This is your first or second time here. Hi, hello. I don't normally do this type of content, but I'm gonna start doing more of it in the future. And if this is your third time here, go ahead and hit that subscribe button so you can stay updated on when I post. Almost lost my train of thought there. We also have memberships. $1 a month, you can get members-only videos. $2 a month, you get early access to every video I post. Thanks for watching. Hope you guys enjoyed it, and I will see you all in the next one.